Let's talk about this book, the biggest lesson that it taught me, and crucially, why it is blurred out right now. If you followed my channel for a while, you probably know that I have made a couple different videos about the book Letting Go by David Hawkins, and I generally am a proponent of its ideas and methodology. So imagine my surprise when I woke up a couple weeks ago and found an email detailing a YouTube copyright takedown. That is to say, my most popular video, which at the time it was taken down, I believe had about 65,000, 70,000 views, was removed from YouTube due to a request from the copyright holders of David Hawkins' estate. I found this quite surprising because my video, if anything, encouraged people to buy the book and dive deeper into the work of David Hawkins. The justification was that I had used an image of David Hawkins, which, fair play, I did, and I would be happy to remove that if so requested. The second reason was that I showed the cover of this book. To me, it seems almost to be an argument in bad faith to say that showing the cover of a book is a valid reason to take down a video from YouTube. But fair play, I don't own the copyright, so that is not something I can control. If you're curious where that video went, that's what happened. It got taken down, I appealed it to YouTube, and they said, can't do anything about it. Fair enough. This was essentially half of my channel's viewership gone overnight. I have a small coaching business that gets a lot of leads from my YouTube channel, some of which come from this video, and a lot of people ask me questions about letting go, and I became sort of the, in my own little micro universe, the letting go guy. That was sort of the identity that I had built within this small frame of YouTube. And at first, I felt very threatened. For about an hour, I felt completely just taken aback by the fact that this video had been taken down. It just seemed so absurd, really, that showing a photo for about 1 second and showing the cover of a book that I physically purchased and owned was used as evidence of me breaking the law in order to take down a video that was positive and in line, I hope, with the messaging of the author. To me, at first, that seems like a tremendous affront, and who am I to say? I don't own the copyright. They are within their legal rights to submit that request. In the spirit of openness in which the book was written, this does not necessarily seem to be the actions of people who have read the book, but on the other hand, I can't control it. I don't have the rights to it, so it's fine. What I would like to say, though, is the lesson that this experience taught me, and the overarching theme of letting go, not to say the book Letting Go, but the action of letting go. That was the revelation that occurred to me, because I spent about an hour feeling pretty bummed out. Then I started to work through my options, and what I realized is that I had become, ironically, dependent on my video of letting go. Just a little bit, not tremendously, but psychologically I thought of myself as existing in this letting go space on YouTube. And I realized that I had begun limiting myself and making videos about letting go and thinking that my audience, whoever you lovely people are, thank you for watching, would only be interested in stuff about letting go, specifically the book. And I realized that in itself was something that I was clinging to in that moment. I was attached to the book Letting Go. And when I was confronted with the reality that I would not be able to rely on that crutch, so to speak, anymore, that was propping up my channel, it threatened my sense of inner security. And perhaps because I've read this book and many others and done a little bit of inner work, I realized that instead of being upset, instead of being angry, this was actually an opportunity. And this is something that freed me, in a sense, of an old identity that I was clinging to that was actually providing limitations. Because that's not really who I am. I just made a video about letting go that some people liked. And that's cool, and I can go forward and make videos about other things. But I had been pigeonholing myself and doubting myself and starting to make fewer videos because I didn't really know how to move forward within that identity that I had given myself. One of the big realizations that came from this is that I have grown a lot. I think it's so easy in life to take for granted how far You've come because you keep looking at the journey ahead. And I, like so many of us, have a habit of thinking, well, yeah, sure, I've done some work, but really, I still got a lot to work on, and I'm still very flawed. And I realized that it only took me a couple of hours to essentially come to terms with the fact that about half of my YouTube channel's influx of viewers was gone and would probably not be coming back from that source, and realize that actually that's an opportunity towards freedom. So many of these things that come to us in life in the form of challenges. There's that saying, be like water, right? If you flow with the things that come as challenges, you might find that there's new opportunities, that you have been locking yourself into a specific frame of viewing the world. And something comes and hits you, and you say, oh my gosh, I can't see as much of the world now. I'm even more locked in. But the thing is that if the thing that hits you breaks your view open, there's actually more. There's actually more opportunity. And that resistance, that inner clinging, is keeping things not expanded and open, but it's actually keeping things small and contracted. Even though I poured a lot of time and energy and love even into that video, and I feel bad because it did touch many people, and there was amazing discussions going in the comment section, and so many people helping each other or asking me questions, and I felt I was able to give genuine responses, and people were very grateful, and that was beautiful to see. And there was a certain level of mourning that had to be done, right? Where I felt like I didn't want to let that go. And I had to face on the same level a certain insecurity, like, who am I if I'm not the letting go guy? Like, if people are just gonna watch these other videos, I don't know. Like, is my channel gonna survive? I don't know. But those are the fears and insecurities that keep us small, right? Those are not the brave, powerful movements when we are free, when we are open to those new experiences, and when we see the opportunities coming our way in the form of change. Because everything always changes, right? The illusion is that you can hold on. The illusion is that there are things that stay the same. And the only thing that really stays the same is our concepts, our ideas. Because we can fragment and freeze things in time mentally and keep a picture of things as they were, or as we wish they were, as we want them to be. Reality is ever flowing, always changing. There is no stability. There's just the flow. There's just the ride, right? And the more rigidly we cling to that concept, to those ideas, the way we think things need to be, the less free we are to embrace that current, right? So my goal moving forward is to embrace that flow, to make similar but different videos. Likely not going to be making another video about the book Letting Go, because it is clear that the publishers of this book do not want me to. We will certainly talk about topically letting go as it relates to clinging, as it relates to freedom, as it relates to understanding yourself and the difference between like reality and illusion. And those things I am extremely passionate about, and I love having these deep discussions with people. I love coaching calls with people, which is another thing that I felt slightly threatened by, because people have reached out to me for coaching based on that video, and I thought, I'm gonna lose this source of people who, for one thing, it's an income, and then for another thing, it's just something I love, I'm extremely passionate about, right? And even in that moment, that was not easy. I don't want to make myself sound like a superhuman, but I realized that was still just me limiting myself. That was still me believing I had to be in this little letting go box. And in a way that I did not like at first, life came and busted open my letting go box. Just like life will come and bust open your comfort zone, where you think everything is known and secure and solidified. And it will reveal that In real life, almost nothing is known and comfortable and solidified except the things that are like dead and frozen and we cling to and we hold on. And that's where so much of our insecurity and our resentment and our fear comes from. Because we believe so strongly, right, that the world needs to be this way or I need to be this way. And if it doesn't line up with my picture, I'm gonna freak out. These things that happen, sometimes they are for our better interest. And it's not always about using my limited perspective to shape reality. So much of the content on YouTube, so much of the self-improvement sphere, so much of the achievement orientation of the Western world, and the Eastern world too, to be honest, is based on trying to bend reality to fit our preconceived narrative. And I think that's maybe okay in limitation, but the opportunity that life gives us almost every single day, probably every single day, is instead of bending reality to shape our limited viewpoint, it's to allow reality to break open, to widen our limited viewpoint. To say you don't have to be that story, you don't have to be that person. And to be honest, you can't stay that same person. You just can't. You will change. The situations will change. Everything will always change. The one constant is change, right? And so, as much as you can, what I have found helpful, at least, is to embrace that opening of perspective, that broadening of horizons that comes when that small me, that fearful me, is threatened. The bigger picture understanding is, oh, the thing that feels threatened here is the small ego self that thinks this is a scarce world and it has to be this small thing, and that narrative is feeling threatened. But when you step back, you realize that that narrative, in a sense, was a prison that you've been living in, and it offers a sense of psychological security because you feel, okay, I understand sort of who I'm supposed to be. But it's all an idea. Letting go is about letting go of that small me story, that small me perspective that wants to cling and feels threatened and wants to, when threatened, armor up, attack, fight back, say, no, I'm not going to change. This is not going to happen. No, 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 no. That small self is what life provides us an almost constant opportunity to change by seeing, to see the bigger picture, to see the flow, to see the openness of the world. And we tend to, from the small self, we interpret that as threatening, that openness, that possibility, that feels so fearful to the narrative that says I'm small and limited and I can't do that, I'm stupid, I'm not good enough, I'm unlovable. All of this bullshit that runs through our heads that keeps us firmly locked in essentially death, in fragmented stories from 10, 20, 50 years ago that rule our lives, these dead pieces of language that have no life except the life they constantly suck from our actual physical presence. When we repeat the same mistakes, the same patterns, when we become hardened and brittle and afraid. And in my view, the essence of letting go, not necessarily the book, although the book is great, but the essence of letting go itself is to free yourself from all of that old junk and to open to the possibility that change consistently introduces into your life on a daily basis. The fact that our lives are eternally made new, moment to moment. Everything is always new and always different and always offering new opportunities, except for our conceptual, locked into place desire to make them stay the same, because that's where we feel secure. Or so it seems, until something threatens that, and then we feel insecure and terrified, which is not fun, so then we armor up more, and then we are easier to trigger and we feel more afraid, and it's a vicious loop. So letting go is to say dive into the flow, make of it what you can, and enjoy the ride. That's my take, at least. And I wanted to make this video to share that for those of you, firstly, who liked that video, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you guys. I'm not entirely sure what the future holds for this channel, but I love doing this kind of thing, having these kinds of discussions, and talking to people in the comments and connecting. And I think these things are important to talk about, right? And I feel like most people sadly are trapped in kind of vicious cycles of self-destructive bullshit from their past and trauma and childhood wounds. And if you look at the world, there's so much conflict and so much violence, and I think having discussions like this or making videos like this is maybe the tiny thing that I can do, I don't know, to have a discussion, to broaden that perspective just a little bit so we don't all just live blind, pointless, angry, fearful lives, but instead we can, I don't know, open and connect and be on a deeper level. And that is an ongoing journey. I don't mean to present myself as somebody who has arrived, but I learned through this experience that I have grown so much, and I would have been bitter about this for months in the past, and the fact that it took me a couple hours to basically get over was eye-opening in a certain level. And yeah, I wanted to make this video to share that experience, why that video is no longer on my channel. If you went and looked for it, that's why. I will, of course, continue to make videos. They will probably be on other books, they will be on other topics, but we will continue with the theme of openness, freedom, the intersection of spirituality and self-help, and truly what has worked for me and what I believe has the potential to influence and make this entire world a better place. And for me, that is very meaningful, and I hope it is for you as well. If you've watched this whole thing, I imagine that there's something in you that resonates with that, and I want to say I appreciate you so much for watching. If you want to see the one remaining letting go video on my channel that has thus far escaped the purge, I think that'll be up here for now. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.